What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Podcast 129. My name is Hunter Waldrop. To my right is Mr. Jake Stinchcomb, and at the bottom of us is Mr. Tyler Vaughn. We're here doing our Week 7 college football preview, and man, is it a loaded slate, and I am so excited for what this Saturday has to offer, but we already got games going right now, guys. It is a Wednesday night. We have 49 days straight of football between college, NFL, midday Conference USA, Maction's on the rise, then our normal Saturday, Sundays, and Thursday night football, Monday night football. Like, we're so back. Everything's buzzing. MLB postseason full swing. NHL just started. NBA coming up soon. Like, college basketball is about to
college
start.
hoops, yeah.
Like, and everybody be on the lookout. We are going to do a college hoops preview and maybe an NBA preview. So everybody be on the lookout. Like, not only is it a great time to be a sports fan, but it's a great time to be a listener. Podcast 129 if you love more than just football. So with all that said, fellas, how are we doing?
Good, Hunt. You took the words right out of my mouth about how we're just so back. There's so many sports going on. And I want to talk about a little – dude, this is the Week 7 preview. And I know I said this the other night when we recap, but time is flying. The weeks are ticking away. I'm just trying to embrace the moment, enjoy each week we have because they just keep going by. They keep going by. This is what we wait for this all offseason from after the Super Bowl, beginning of February to September is the dog days of our year. And we live all those months for like these 12 to 15 weeks of college football season. We're already to Week 7. It's crazy how fast time is just ticking away. I'm grateful for it, excited for another big week, another slate that we get to preview.
Yeah, I'm right here with you, Jake. It is crazy how quickly the season's gone by. It seems like it was, last week that we were filming the Week 1 preview, and here we are. And we're in the middle of the glory days of football right here. Week after week we're getting great slates, and you can't beat that. You can't beat how it's shaping up right now. And so I'm having a lot of fun watching football, talking football with the fellas, and just looking forward to seeing how this week goes and hitting that recap next week.
Yeah, we are beyond blessed to have this opportunity, even though we don't make a single dime off of it, but like just being able to get on here and have a good time as three friends just talking ball. It don't get too much.
Absolutely.
And Jake, I'm pretty sure there's only 14 regular season weeks in the college football slate. There might be 15, but I'm pretty sure it's 14. That includes 12.
Yeah, I think 15 is the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, there's 12 regular season games, and every team gets 2 byes. So after this week, we'll be officially halfway through the college football season.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
And since we're going to be halfway through, I do have an announcement to make. Jake and Tyler know this already, but we will be doing a redo of our brackets and a new CFP preview. Not preview. That's bad. Prediction. We're doing a CFP remodel prediction because
we're making adjustments.
Halftime adjustments because there are.
I need some crow.
There's a few people on here that have been stuffed so full of crow they can't take anymore. So, all right, guys. Well, we have the most games we've ever had to preview on here, like including our quick hitters at the end, which I'm going to tell you right now, I got a feeling some of them aren't going to be quick hitters. We're going to dive into a lot of these games. It is so jam-packed, and I'm so excited. So without further ado, let's hop right on into it.
All right. As always, go follow us on our socials. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at podcast_129 on Twitter and Instagram, and .129 on TikTok. I will say I'm going to be on the beach Saturday. I'm going to have my phone in my hands at all times. I'm going to be on Twitter on Saturday. I am cranking her back up is the way I'm going to put it. So be on the lookout for that. Follow us on Instagram too. Hunter is the MVP of keeping that active constantly. So we appreciate Hunter for that. And with that, I think it's time to talk about some of these games.
Yeah, for anybody that does go and follow us on Twitter, it's a great read when Jake Stinch comes on the beach with a cold beer in his hand. I'll just tell you right now, it's a great read. So just if you're bored on Saturday, hey, I unfortunately have plans on Saturday night. I'm going to have to miss part of some of the nights, late games. So the way I'm going to get my information is through Jake Stinchcomb on Twitter, and I think y'all should do the same. So, all right, game number 1. This is where College Game Day's head this week. They're going to Eugene, Oregon, where the number 3 Ducks are laying 7.5 points as favorites here, welcoming the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers, led by Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza. Guys, I'm going to be honest, like when we were doing our preseason stuff, especially when we focused on the Big Ten and college football playoff, I was just like, dude, there's just no way Indiana's going to redo what they did last year, right? In our Vibes episode, I said they are one of the 3 teams I had highlighted to prone to take a step back. And here they are, ranked in the top 10 halfway through the season. And their biggest problem last year was that anytime they played a team that had a number next to their name or was highly respected or touted, whatever, they struggled. And they either lost outright, like they had 2 losses last year, right? And when you look back on it, it's like, well, they lost to the national champion Ohio State at Ohio State. And then they lost to the national runner-up in Notre Dame at Notre Dame in the playoff. And, they weren't really competitive in either game, but this is a new year. This is a new team. And I think the last time, and maybe the only time, all eyes of America were on Indiana is when they blew out Illinois 60-37, right? And it was all gas, no brakes, start to finish. Coach Sig has been like that his entire time as a head coach, even dating back to JMU and schools before that. But one thing I did notice is like, wow, Mendoza is better than Curtis Rourke. He's more accurate with the ball, quick decision-making. And they've got a lot more speed on that offense, a little bit more different packages showing than the standard what they did last year, right? And then the defense, lots of returning production from last year. So I think this is a better Indiana team, but traveling 2 time zones, maybe 3, to Eugene against a team off a bye in Oregon. And I think Indiana's off a bye too, but regardless, Oregon's looked like the best team in the country. The last time we all had eyes on them, they go coast to coast and the game went to double overtime, but for 3 quarters, it was leather meets bottom against Penn State. Let's be honest here. So highs and lows right now, right? Everybody's got all eyes on Oregon. Very high, like, oh, we know what they're about. Whereas Indiana, it's like, oh, yeah, well, they're playing Oregon. They're having to travel. We know what they are. They beat all the bad teams, and they play a good team. They struggle. So very curious to see what your guys' takes on these games are. So by all means, Jake, I'll let you start and take it away.
Yeah, Hunter, I like what you said. Like last year was tough. It's a new year. It's a new look Indiana. Totally new team, and I think they're a better team than they were last year. For this game specifically, first of all, I think it's an elite coaching matchup. Dan Lanning, psycho ass versus Coach Sig, who loves to run his mouth. I think that's a great coaching matchup we have at play here. The matchup that I'm most interested to see is both quarterbacks against 2 absolute elite secondaries, 2 of the best secondaries in the country. Both of these secondaries, both units, have yet to give up over 200 passing yards in a single game so far, and that's pretty impressive considering we're six weeks in. Regardless of if you look at matchups and who they played, that's very impressive. Talking about Fernando Mendoza a little bit, I think he's been the most efficient quarterback in the country so far, which I know the only data point, the main data point we have is Illinois game. But even I watched them several times when I had them in as Hunter knows this, in the scattered, smothered, covered parlay that I did a few weeks there. So I have watched Indiana more than I thought that I would at this point in the season. He gets the ball out so quick. He gets it out accurately, puts it in the right spot, and it's on time. And it's nonstop. And I love watching him. He just gets rid of the ball. It's so smooth. He looks comfortable back there. And I think the recipe this weekend for them to succeed offensively is getting the ball to Cooper and Surratt. I don't know their first names, but the last names is what I wrote down. But those are their 2 guys. I think they both have over 300 yards receiving so far. Getting the ball to them in space because they're fast and they can make plays with the ball in their hands. That's exactly what they did with Illinois. I'd love to know the run after catch for them in that game. And I also think for Oregon, on the Oregon side, this to me, even with them being in the comfort of their own home, is a bigger test than traveling cross country to Penn State. And just because Penn State, this is kind of finally starting to hit with me because I really do. I like Penn State. I like Drew Aller. I'm rooting for James Franklin, and I've kind of been blinded by the fact that they are very one-dimensional. I don't think I talked about this in recap. I don't think Drew Aller pushed the ball downfield. I don't think. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm going off on a squirrel here. Anyways, I think this is a bigger test for Oregon. I mean, yes, for Oregon, because Indiana, they are a much more physical team. They're faster. They're a very fast team. A way more explosive offense, and they can run it and throw it. So that's why I think this is a bigger test for Oregon. And pressure's on just because they're undefeated. Both teams are undefeated. I think Indiana is a better coach team than Penn State as of right now too. So the only thing that worries me for Indiana is the cross-country factor. I feel like anytime you talk about any game, regardless of teams, like going across 2 time zones is a big deal. 2 time zones is a big deal and a factor to look at. Outside of that, I don't see a reason why Indiana can't win this game outright. I think they're going to play physical. They're going to take it to them and come out. I can see Sig trying to score quick and not start just a fast start on the road. Why not? I do think it's going to be more of a low-scoring matchup. 2 very good defenses, elite secondaries. Indiana able to get some stops. Oregon, the crowd gets involved. I'm going, and I say lower scoring. I guess I mean like sloppier game, rather. I feel like the defenses shine more than the offenses. I'm going 34-30 Oregon. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on saying Indiana's going to win the game outright, but I do think they keep it close.
Yeah, Jake, I like what you said there, especially about Fernando Mendoza. I think he's looked good this year. Let me ask you guys a question. Up to this point in the season, who is the more proved team in this matchup? Is Oregon more proven or is Indiana more proven at this point?
I mean, I guess you would have to rattle off who Indiana has played for me besides Illinois, but you got to say Oregon. I mean, the team outside of Penn State, they have beat the shit out of everybody they played outside of Northwestern, which it was a road game for them. I mean, you can't win every game by 70 points, but just their offense, explosiveness, and which Indiana's beat the shit out of people too. I shouldn't say that. But I guess if you stack the wins, Indiana beat Illinois at home, blew them out, and Oregon dominated at Penn State in a whiteout for, like Hunter said, 3 quarters. So I guess you got to say Oregon, in my opinion.
I think there's arguments to be made for both, right?
Yeah.
So the argument for Indiana would be they were ranked in the 20s and going into the season, and everybody had the narrative. Okay, we know what Indiana is. We might not let them into the playoff if they do the same thing they did last year, right? And they came out. They played a top 15 team. It was at home, but regardless, I don't care if that game was at home. Is that in Illinois or if it was played on the freaking moon. Indiana was going to win that game after what I saw, right? So saw that. So that's definitely in the see that they made the improvements. They're a totally different team, and they've jumped from 20 into the top 10. You can make that argument. Oregon, on the other hand, started in 7th preseason, I believe, somewhere around that range, back half of the top 10. But they lost a lot of veterans on their team, right? This is a very young team. Very unproven team. Dante Moore. I mean, heck, their best receiver, Decorian Moore, is a true freshman, right? So, and then they brought in a lot of guys from the portal. Now they had a more veteran-led defense, but outside of that, it's a new team. Not lots of question marks everywhere, right? Like you looked at the preseason top 10, you're like, Oregon's in there because their name, they'll go 10-2 or whatever. But now they're looking like, wow, this team go undefeated. So there's arguments to be made for both. Honestly, I'll go with Indiana just to be a little bit different here from Jake, because I think the whole narrative is if you would have told me Indiana was going to win by 56 points against Illinois, who everybody was high on going into the season and have looked as crisp as they have the first 6 weeks, that's pretty impressive after what they did last year. And the narrative going into this year as far as, they'll win 8-9 games. They won't be as good as they were last year. They won't make the playoff. Whereas if you had told me in the preseason Oregon was going to make the playoff, I'm like, yeah, of course. They'll be a top 12 team. So to this point, I'd say Indiana.
Yeah, with you. The reason I asked that is because both of these teams are, like you said, you can make an argument for both. Oregon goes into Penn State and wins that game in the whiteout, but now it's like, how big does that win look? Penn State dropped out of the rankings, lost to UCLA, and Indiana beat an Illinois team that, is a solid team, and they beat the absolute shit out of them. So in my opinion, I think Indiana might be a little more proven, but I bring that up to ask not to ask, but for my brain, the way I'm going to pick this game is who has momentum, the most momentum coming in, because I think that's going to be a big thing in this matchup, because they've both shown that they have a very good offense. They've both shown that they have very elite defenses. So in my opinion, it's going to come down to who's more motivated to win this game, who has the more momentum coming in. And I think it's Indiana. I think that they are ready to go. They're out trying to prove something. They're hungry. Oregon, again, they've played really well. They've beat up on teams. I mean, absolutely smoked teams. But then again, it's like though as Indiana, like Jake was saying. So I also think this will be a sloppier game. I don't think it's going to be clean. I think coming off of a bye week for both of these teams might the way they play.
He's gone. Tyler glitched out. It's okay. That internet at Conrad Drive, not the best. Anyways, regardless of the point here. Is he back? Is he back like the McRib? He's back like the snack wrap.
Here we go again. I don't know what all you heard, but I'm taking Indiana winning 31-30.
Wow, that's bold. That's frisky, man. So I like your guys' points, right? About how, how like Indiana does have a chance to win this game. I totally agree. And Jake, you brought up a point that I did not hit on when introducing this game is the physicality of Indiana, right? They brought in a lot of good transfers. Like I'm pretty sure their center transfer from Notre Dame. So he's been there. He's done that. Like this offensive line is veteran. They're physical, man. And they are a good team. With that said, like this game, and Jake, I told you this before we started recording here. This game reminds me of Bama versus Vandy last week, right? Like this line opened up at 10.5. It's already down to 7.5 or 9.5, whatever it opened up with. It's already came down a little bit since then. And there's been a little bit of buyback on Oregon, but man, this game smells like Vandy Bama, right? So I think it's going to be a close game for the first half and maybe the first part of the third quarter. But I think at the end of it, you're going to see Oregon kind of wear down on Indiana. And the whole momentum's going to shift. The home crowd, the travel, I think it's all going to wear out on the Hoosiers here. And I do like Oregon to win and to cover, even if it's a little backdoor. They might, Dan Lanning knows that spread, right? Like he's got to get those boosters their money back for what they're investing into his program. So I am going to go Oregon here, 34-21 over the Hoosiers with a 13-point win and a cover for the Ducks. And I do feel pretty confident in that. I think it'll be like I said, man, I think it's going to be pretty close. Like you could make an argument for Indiana, just like you could have made the argument for Vandy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana started out fast. And I would like to see how Oregon plays down when they're playing from behind. We haven't seen that at all this year. They have not been trailing in any game, I think, this entire season. So if that happens, my eyeballs will be glued. What time is this game? 3:30 CBS. Yeah, I'll be able to watch it. So my eyeballs will be glued if that's the case. I mean, it's going to be glued regardless, but I'll be paying extra attention, I should say, to this one. But I do like the Ducks to pull away at the end and get a little late cover there. So give me the Ducks, 34-21 over the Hoosiers.
I like it. Also, you talked about like Dan Lanning knowing the spread. I feel like this is a battle of they're not trying. Neither team's trying to win. Both coaches are trying to cover here. That's what it feels like. And I love that. So good stuff.
No, Jake, that's a really good point because Sig definitely knows the spread. Like that's a known fact. And so I like that point you just made. Moving on to a very intriguing matchup. This one, I think we talked about a little bit more than we probably anticipated when we were doing our SEC preview in the preseason. That being the number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide traveling to Columbia, Missouri, not South Carolina, Columbia, Missouri, take on the 14th ranked Tigers. Alabama laying 3.5 in this game. And this is game 3 of a 4-game gauntlet for the Tide. So they started out, they had Georgia after the bye week, got the win, had a very emotional win over a winning team last week. And now they are getting Mizzou, and next week they get Tennessee back at home. So 4-game gauntlet, right? So can Kalen DeBoer find a way to get his team up off the mat week after week after week? So we saw it. He got his team off the mat and took down the longest win streak, current active win streak, home win streak against Georgia. Got his team off the mat the next week, gets the win over Vanderbilt in convincing second half fashion. Can he get his team off the mat for a third week, go back on the road, a snoozy spot, 11 a.m. local kick in Columbia, Missouri? Very intriguing matchup. Ty Simpson's looked like a Heisman frontrunner for the past, 3-4 games now against ULM, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Vandy. And the run game starting to come together. We saw it improve against Vandy. Offensive line's playing better. Defense forcing turnovers. Like this is Alabama where you've been more accustomed to, but can he get them off the mat? Whereas you look on the other side, Mizzou, best team they've played so far is Kansas. And Kansas, they're a good football team. They're a Big 12 football team. Going to accumulate a few more losses up to this point. They also haven't left home this year. Not a factor in this game, but just something to note. And they have a running back, Ahmad Hardy, who is on the cover of this episode, and the guy has hit over 100 rushing yards every single game. Mizzou has a top 5 rush defense. This isn't supposed to be said out loud, guys, but it's just a fact. Mizzou has a way better pass rush than the University of Georgia does, right? They have, Damon Wilson, he's playing at Mizzou, who formerly played at the University of Georgia. So they can get home to the quarterback. And I think really what it comes down to is, if Ty Simpson has time to throw, as we've seen through all their wins, when he's had time to throw, he makes plays, man. He's only had 1 turnover. Whereas when he hasn't had time to throw, it's ugly. We saw it against Florida State. But has Mizzou faced the caliber of team, both on offense and on defense, with a team like Alabama coming into town? The answer is no, in my opinion. So, very curious to see what your thoughts on this game are, Jake. I know that you are very, very highly anticipated for this one.
Yeah, this is honestly like a top. Obviously, the Georgia game, whoever they're playing, is going to be my favorite, but this is probably my favorite game outside of it. Very intriguing matchup on Saturday. And to me, it's the perfect matchup for Missouri in my eyes, coming off of a bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. They've had this game marked. An opportunity for Ahmad Hardy to showcase his talents even more than he has already. I know he's played South Carolina and Kansas, but everybody and their mama is going to be watching Alabama, whoever they're playing every week, right? And I think this is a big opportunity for him to showcase his talents and his ability to run the ball. I want to talk about Eli Drink. I call him Eli Drinkwitz, but Drink is what I call him. I like to call him. 0-3 against Alabama as the head coach of Missouri. They've never really received national attention when it comes to like the SEC, when even at times when they might have deserved it, like the year when Cody Schrader was there and Brady Cook and Luther Burden. They had a good squad, and they've always kind of been the little brother to Alabama, to Georgia, whoever is at the top of the SEC at the time. And I have a little stat for you, Hunter. And you got to really listen to this stat because it doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense, but it's hard to understand. During the playoff era, when playing teams who have won the SEC, you follow me? So their record against the 3 teams who have won the SEC, Georgia, Bama, LSU, and that's like, I know Auburn's won the SEC, but they didn't play Auburn. so they don't really matter in the stat. Their records against these teams: Georgia 1-11, Alabama 0-5, LSU. Oh my God, you scared me. Bro just walks into my room. Sorry, if you're listening on podcast, Tyler's internet sucks, and he decides to sneak up. I see a big ass man walk in my door. Golly, Tyler's here.
All right, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties. If you're listening on podcast, Tyler's internet sucks, and now he's in the room with me. All right, so back to my stat that I had pulled up, and I was talking to you about, Hunter. When playing teams who have won the SEC during the playoff era, Missouri, and Auburn's not counted in this. Missouri against UGA, 1-11 against Alabama. They're 0-5. LSU 1-2. And the point of all this about Coach Drink, about the stat with Missouri, is they've never been able to get over the hump when it comes time. It's kind of like the Kentucky treatment over not the past 2 years, but from like 2018, 19 up to 2023, like they'd go 5-0 and then get to Georgia and then crumble. It's kind of like that to me. And what better opportunity in a loaded slate of college football, a new era to do it. It's a disrespectful kickoff time, 11 a.m. local time when Alabama comes to town, number 8 team in the country, the hottest team in the country right now, if you will. Tide, they're on a high after an early season turnaround. They're finally starting to figure stuff out. Like you said, Ty Simpson looks like a Heisman candidate. Jam Miller's back and finally starting to figure out that run game. What better platform to do it on Saturday? And I think they get it done. I think Bama's run defense, like I've talked about in the recap, gets exposed. The crowd gets into it. Ty Simpson, that Missouri pass rush is able to get home to Ty Simpson and make him uncomfortable, forces him to make a few turnovers. Missouri's able to hit a few explosive plays. Ahmad Hardy goes for 200 on the ground, 3 tuds. Give me the Tigers on Saturday to win an absolute war in Columbia, 34-30.
So I like the point you made about Drake and how he struggled against Alabama. I think that this game's going to come down to can Alabama's run defense stop Ahmad Hardy? Obviously, he's looking to have a big game, and they're going to rely on him in this game. So I think that plays into Missouri's hand. I do think that Alabama is much improved from obviously the first game of the year, but just on a year-to-year aspect, last year they struggled a little bit, missed the playoff, and I think this year's a completely different Alabama team. I think that Ty Simpson is a very good quarterback, and I think I heard Hunter say before my Wi-Fi went out that he's looking to make a Heisman run towards the end of the year. He's looked really good. However, what like I said, the biggest thing is going to be, can Alabama's defense stop the run against Missouri, who's coming in, and they know that's how they're going to win this game. They know that they've got to rely on their run game. Bo Prabula, he's good, but that the biggest thing for them is going to be, can they establish the run? It's going to be one up front, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that against this Alabama front. Obviously, Georgia had some success running the ball. I think that Georgia has a much better offensive line than Missouri does. Vandy had some success running the ball. Now, you can definitely probably say that Missouri has better offensive line than Vandy, but we saw how that turned out once they had a bad fumble with Pavias, I talked about in the recap. I just think that Alabama might be too much for Missouri to handle this week. I've got Alabama winning this game. I think it'll be tight, but I've got Alabama 35-24. Excuse me, 28. I'm sorry, 28.
Good stuff, guys. So what this game comes down to for me, 2 things. One, can Missouri's front block the Alabama front, right? So we know Missouri, they have a really good run offense. But with that said, the credit's got to go to the offensive line for part of that, correct? I mean, big boys need loving too. Ain't that right, Tyler? Amen. So that's part of it. The other part, is Missouri secondary up for the challenge? What's the best passing team that they've played so far? Kansas? And they're a run-first team. So lots of question marks for a team but hey, here's the thing. Games are not played on paper, right? If they were played on paper, Texas or Penn State versus Ohio State, or no, Texas versus Penn State in the preseason, 1 versus 2, game on paper, Texas would have won, and that would have been it. Like that's who would have been favored on a neutral site, and both those teams are out of the poll now. So these games are not played on paper. But I just think there's too many question marks for Mizzou. I think Bama's on a tear. I think Mizzou's a very popular underdog pick this week. I got to keep rolling with the Tide, man. I mean, I picked them to win the SEC. I got a future slip on them to win the Natty. I can't bail on them now. I think this team knows after that Florida State loss, like they can't afford to drop this one. I think it's going to be a tight game, a close game, but I think the lack of coverage from the secondary of Missouri and maybe not sustainability on the offensive line from Missouri. And I think Bo Prabula is going to have to use his legs just a little too much in this one, and it's going to come down to that. And I like Alabama to win a close one and barely cover 28-24.
Good stuff, Hunt.
And moving on to, oh gosh, I can't with this game. So it says Red River Rivalry, but on this show it will be known as no other game except for the Red River Shootout, because we're not a bunch of commies on here, except for Tyler. We'll get into that later. Regardless, neutral site game, Texas State Fair. Like, this is arguably one of my favorite games every single year in college football. The unranked, gosh, I can't believe I'm saying that, the unranked Texas Longhorns versus the number 6 ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Who on this pod? I'm going to take my flowers where I can get them now because I'm about to have to eat some crow here. Who on this podcast in the preseason said there's a world where Oklahoma's undefeated going into the Red River Shootout and Texas has 2 losses?
Tyler?
Oh. Yeah, definitely not Tyler. Definitely not Tyler. I'm trying to take the credit where I can get it right now because, like I said, this game sucks for me. So, as everybody knows, biggest Oklahoma Glazer on the internet, no doubt about it. So, I don't care if John Mateer plays or not in this game. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to for a lot of people, not for me, because I genuinely have already made my mind up that he's not going to play in this game. It's just like, let's get everybody thinking that he might play, but I think it's going to be Michael Hawkins Jr. trotting out there. And if that's the case, Oklahoma's going to have to find a way to win this game by only putting up 17 points. Like, they're going to have to find a way. And don't get me wrong, their defense is legit. They've got the pass rushers. They've got the speed in the secondary. They can get home to the quarterback. And this is just such a bad spot. Like, the Oklahoma defense looks legit. But guys, they still can't run the ball. Against Power 4 opponents, they're averaging 2.7 yards a carry without Mateer. That's what they're running backs. So but you look on the flip side, you look at Texas here, right? Their defense really solid. Now Florida and Sunbelt Billy figured out a way to find holes in that defense last week, right? But the defense was consistently on the field as well. So I think that also played a factor into it. Their Texas offensive line has played bad. They can't run the ball worth a crap. I'm pretty sure, their running backs had like 15 carries for 11 yards or whatever it was. It was just bad. Arch led their team in rushing with 37 yards last week in the swamp. So everything is pointing to Oklahoma. I mean, I know I just said I think Missouri is going to be the most bet dog this week. I take that back. They're the second most bet dog because Oklahoma is getting everybody's money right now. And, Vegas was not built with these shiny buildings and high taxes for everybody to be right. So I'll go ahead and just say it. My heart wants me to pick Oklahoma in this game, right? I mean, I've been on them. I can't get away from them now. So I am going to pick Oklahoma to win. But I just want it to be known on record right now. I think Texas wins the game. All right. I said it. If anybody on this show, I also can't go away from this. I always say you got to buy when the stock is low and you got to sell when the stock is high. And if the stock is any higher on Oklahoma and any lower on Texas, so like it does not get any more sell high, buy low than this game right here.
Yeah.
I think Texas's offensive line is going to play better than what they did against Florida. There's no way they play that bad. I don't know how much success they'll actually have running the football, but I think Arch will play a little bit better. I think Sark's going to find a way to grit this one out because here's the thing. and this has also been a thing in college football this year, especially like you look at the Bama-Georgia game, right? Like Georgia would have loved to have the Bama game, right? But Bama needed that game. Like they needed it.
Yeah. Must-win spot.
Oklahoma would love to have Texas, right? Love to beat their rival. But Texas, like outside of rivalries, like for their season to stay alive, they need to win this game. Wounded animal mode. So that's why I like Texas to win the game. But I think ultimately, like Oklahoma, they're with Michael Hawkins at quarterback. Like that's just what I've told my mind. Michael Hawkins is playing quarterback. Because what if, okay, I'm going to throw this out here. What if John Mateer does play quarterback? Is he fully healthy? Can he fully grip the ball? Can he throw the ball correctly? Like, there's so many question marks there, right? If Michael Hawkins does play quarterback, you're going to see the play clock getting inside the 5 a lot. Lots of drainage of the clock. I am interested to see how he would do in this type of game versus with Ben Arbuckle as his OC. That's something different. Like last year, their offense was a catastrophe, but this is something a little bit new here. So very interested. On the picks page, it's going to say Oklahoma, but just know, I like Texas to win. I'm not giving a score prediction for this game. It'd be a waste of time. So I'll let you guys take it away from here. Jake, I already know how you feel on this game, so I'm going to let Tyler go first.
Yeah, I think that John Mateer does end up playing in this one, but I don't think he's healthy enough to grip the ball and throw it, and that's going to be a problem. We talked about this after like week 1 or 2. They can't sustain him running the ball 25 times a game, and I think that he's going to be forced to do that in this game, and it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. He should just sit out and let this one go. Give it to the backup. I just don't think that it is smart for him to play, but it's the Red River Shootout. He's going to play, in my opinion. Like I was kind of saying there, though, you can't rely on John Mateer for his run game for the whole game. That's just not going to go well, and so that's why I'm going to give the edge to Texas in this game. We all know that I've never been big on Oklahoma this year. I did have to give them their flowers at one point, but with John Mateer not being healthy, whether he plays or not, I just don't think that they're going to be able to sustain a successful offense against this really good Texas defense. So I'm going to take Texas in a low-scoring game. Give me 24-21 Longhorns.
Good stuff, both of y'all. One thing I wanted to point out, and Hunter, you will appreciate this, I guess, the way we watch the lines throughout the week. On Monday, this line was a 3, and then it bumped down to 1.5. Now it's at 1. And I think if Mateer were to play and that gets an out Saturday morning, Oklahoma might close as favorites here. I mean, the money's going to come swarming in on them, which I find that interesting. Go ahead.
So it's interesting you bring the betting lines up because, yes, obviously that plays a big role into how we kind of preview and predict some of these games, right? So news came out that if John Mateer, like if he would have been healthy going into this game, even with everything that would have happened, like with Texas, the spread would have opened up as Texas minus 1.5. But since he's like in the loom, they put it at 3.5. Now, if there would have been a report earlier this week saying, like out of Brent Venable's mouth or whoever, Sooner Insider, whatever the hell, it would have been like, John Mateer's not playing this week. Texas would have been favored by 5.5 to open the week. But since they didn't know, they split the difference and put it at 3.5. So I just thought that you would find that interesting. That came right out of somebody from FanDuel's mouth. So
yeah, for sure. So Texas obviously coming off of a brutal loss to Florida. I would say they're a candidate for most disappointing team in the country so far. Oklahoma kind of riding the high. They've had 2 big wins at home, ranked wins against Auburn and Michigan. They've shown that they can beat you in different ways, at least when Mateer's on the field, several different ways, whether it's with his legs, whether it's with his arm, getting the ball, running. Even at times, there's been a few glimpses of the run game, and it's most of the time it's been with Mateer. They're more of a candidate for most surprising or most improved team this year. And they're ranked number 6 in the country, which is a surprise, I would say, considering it's week 7. I do think that I do love that they're your darling, Hunter, and I have kind of rode that with you. I've kind of been sitting in the passenger seat as you've driven that bus throughout the year. But I would like to slow down the brakes a little bit on Oklahoma here, just because yes, they've beat Auburn and Michigan, two good physical teams. Both of those teams are one-dimensional. They haven't played a diverse team yet. I'm not saying that Texas is that, but Texas is the much more talented roster on paper than both of those teams. It hadn't clicked yet for Texas, but eventually it is. And what better spot for that to happen than in the biggest game of their season when it's a must-win? They have no choice but to win on Saturday. I think they're the more talented team. Texas is the more talented team than Oklahoma. I think Sark is a better coach. I think he has the edge in the coaching matchup. OU comes down to earth here. I think the Longhorn defense shines. They play great, regardless if it's Mateer or Hawkins. And I don't think that Arch has to do much. I think that they're going to keep the ball on the ground more here, try to establish in a run game and kind of with Wisner and kind of open some stuff up for Arch that makes it simple for him. Because if you look at the box score on Saturday before looking at the actual score and look at just the stats and see that there's 40 passing attempts from Arch, I would say that Oklahoma loses. But if it's in that 20 to 27 to 30 range, then I think they're in a really good spot, meaning that they ran the ball, got him his shots when he could off play action, getting the ball to Wingo and guys like that in space. I think I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. What do you say, Hunter? It's our job. It's not our job to pronounce him or something like that.
No. Hang on. It's not our job to name these babies. It's just our job to mispronounce them.
There it is. That guy, Wisner. I think he has a big day on Saturday. 100 plus. Give me a few tuds. I think Texas wins this one in a must-win spot by 2 scores. I think they handle this game. I got 31-21.
Yeah, I don't hate it. One thing you did say that, and I promise I know it's going to be hard to believe for you guys and the listeners, but like one thing I do got to say to rebuttal what you said is like, how big is the coach? Like you said, Sark has a big advantage over Brent Venables. Like, does he though? Like they're 2-2 against each other.
But more proven, for sure.
Because he's been to the playoff. Okay, yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Now, question for both of you guys: what if Michael Hawkins does play and Texas loses? Well, like, what does that mean for Texas moving forward for the rest of the season? Like, I gotta know. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on like that scenario playing out?
On what scenario playing out?
Michael Hawkins Jr. plays quarterback for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma wins the game on Saturday. What does that mean for Texas in that scenario? Like what is the outlook? What's the overreaction? No, it's not even overreaction at that point, but like, what is the trajectory? Like, just what are your guys' thoughts on that scenario? Like, if it were to play out?
It means that they're done and Arch is going to be pushed out.
Yeah. I mean, there's one of two ways to look at it, I guess. Like if Oklahoma does win with Hawkins in, it probably means that Arch and that offense wasn't able to figure it out and they weren't able to score and they're dead and there's a reevaluation at the quarterback spot for Texas. Or there's a scenario playing out where this is an overreaction, but like a somewhat quarterback controversy in Norman. Like, what if I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't believe that. I'm just saying, like, he could have a big game and he has the highlight game of his career and beats Texas. I do think that's a scenario where they pop off and put up 30 points. But no, I'm not saying that he's better than Mateer or at all, Hunter. I'm not saying that.
No, it's not even that. No, that's not even what I'm arguing about over here. It's like, dude, the only way, like when he's going to play on Saturday, the only way they win is like they're going to have to find a way where 17 to 20 points wins them the game with probably a few turnovers on the other side of the 50. Like, I don't get me wrong. Like, I think the guys, the experience counts for something. A new OC, he's been sitting behind Mateer, but like, dude, the drop off is just so far. Anyways, I like the stuff. We got what? 2.5 Texas, half Oklahoma. Yeah, that sounds about right. And these not so quick hitters. Here we go. Right on into them. First game up, big noon kickoff. Number 1, Ohio State Buckeyes traveling to Champaign, Illinois, take on the 17th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini. Ohio State laying 14.5 in this game. I really don't have a whole lot to dive into, so I'll try and keep this short and sweet, let you guys carry it on. But don't get me wrong, I think Brett Bielema is going to have his team ready to go physically. I think he's going to have somewhat of a game plan ready, but at the end of the day, guys, this is Ohio State. They're going to be too fast, too big, especially on defense. I think not only do I think they win, I think they're going to cover the 14.5 points. I like them to win 31-13 in this game. And it might not be a dominating 31-13. It might be just like the Washington game where, it's going to be boring. Their defense is going to suffocate Illinois. They're going to suffocate them. They're going to run the ball really well. And then when Illinois is all ready for the run, they'll throw it to one of their 6 aliens that they got at receiver, and they'll score on deep shots. And then when you guys start worrying about the receivers, they'll wear you down back with the run game, and it's just going to be one of those boring games. But that's just Ohio State's identity, and they're putting up good numbers doing it. So all respect to Matt Patricia, Ryan Day, and that entire staff. They've done a phenomenal job so far this season. Like I said, I like Ohio State to win and to cover this spread 31-13.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same wavelength here, Hunter. This is one of the games preseason I said that Illinois would win. I was really high on them coming into the season, but based off what we've seen, Ohio State definitely the most well-rounded, most complete team in the country, and they're kind of finally taking the leash off for Julian Sand. I mean, he's finally starting to come out of his shell. Illinois just outmatched here. I love him. I love Brett Bielema. I believe the only position matchup that if we broke it down by position that you could argue that Illinois has the nod here in would honestly be quarterback, just because of Altmaier's experience alone. That's about it. Outside of that, Ohio State checks every box when it comes to the matchups between the two teams. You said 31-13, Hunter. I'm right there with you, except I do think Illinois covers. I said Ohio State wins it in a boring fashion, 27-13. Tyler.
Yeah, I think that this one is not going to be very close. I think Ohio State is just going to overpower Illinois. Like Jake was kind of saying, the only position that you might be able to give a nod to for Illinois is Altmaier, and I don't think that's enough of a gap for this to be close. Hunter, I actually like your score prediction. I'll change it up a little bit. I'll go 34-14, Ohio State.
Good stuff, man. Great minds think alike. Moving on to College Station, Texas. Or sorry, I should say Bryant, College Station, Texas. Apparently that's a big deal. Florida Gators coming off a massive, massive win against Texas at home last week. Finally looked like a competent football team. Traveling to Bryan College Station, take on the top 5 Texas A&M Aggies. Guys, if I would have told you that there were 2 teams ranked in the top 5 in the SEC, who would you think they would have been in the preseason? Bama, Texas, Georgia, LSU, somebody. No, Ole Miss and Texas A&M. How about that? Got to love this game that we call college football. Regardless here, this is a very intriguing matchup, right? Because Florida's in wounded animal mode. They still have everything in front of them. Only one SEC loss. They just proved to themselves, hey, we can hang with the top dogs here, right? At least with the talented teams on paper. But they did it at home. Now they're having to travel. This is seen as a quote-unquote letdown spot. However, Texas A&M has not played a full game. I've shockingly watched too much Texas A&M football between UTSA, Utah State, and then obviously the Mississippi State game last week and the Notre Dame game that they played. But they have not played 4 quarters of fundamentally sound football between both offense and defense. Either the defense is playing really good and Marcel Reed struggling to complete passes consistently, or the offense is humming, they're running the ball efficiently, and the defense is just giving up points. Like they have not put it all together. Could that be this week? Kind of like what you mentioned, Jake, in the Texas-Oklahoma game, right? You said, what better week for Texas to put it all together, right? Well, same thing for Texas A&M, in my opinion, here. You see Dallas Wilson get added for Florida. What a weapon. He has already shown that he can be. Billy, obviously, I know he has this big play sheet in front of him, but let's just be honest here. It's really just a picture of the run the damn ball hat because it's just simply just give it to number 13. Just give it to Jaden Ball. He knows what he's doing with the football. So I think Florida's going to try and lean on that run game again. They've proven that they got the offensive line. We know that they have the defense. This game's very intriguing. Where are your guys' heads with it?
Yeah, I think that Florida competes. I think they compete the rest of the way out. Just that Texas game gave them some sort of hope, some a sense of momentum. I guess I don't think they win here. I think Texas has them outmatched, and it's a home game for Texas. They're riding high right now. A night game at Kyle Field. I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe that Florida's going to win. I do think that they compete for two and a half quarters, and then Texas A&M pulls away late and covers. Tyler, I'll let you go ahead, and then I have kind of a point question for y'all.
I think that this will also be close for a little bit, not very long though. I think the way I see this game going is one of those where it's tight for the first quarter and a half, and then right before halftime, A&M has some kind of play, something happen, and they start to pull away a little bit. I don't think it's going to get necessarily out of hand. So I think A&M probably wins this game. I'll go let's go 37-24 is what I'm going to say. 37-24 Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think I wrote down 38-21 as far as score prediction. But my question that I wanted to bring up, I want to preface this by saying, this is crazy. This is crazy. As it stands right now, through 6 weeks of the season, if you had to tell me if I had to choose a team from each conference that I think can win the national championship, one team, it'd be Ohio State, be Texas Tech, Miami, and A&M. I think as of right now, they're the most complete team. And in a world of so much parity and the transfer portal and the NIL, I have been roped into A&M. I think that their offense, their dynamic offense, and what they can do with Marcel Reed and his legs, Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens, Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, the defense is starting to figure it out. Mike Elko's a defensive coach. This team's not going to lose at home. I don't see why they can't make it to the national championship. I don't see why not. I know that they always fold. I know that they haven't done it since the Great Depression, basically. But it's a new era of college football, and I'm not saying that they're going to win it, or I think they are going to. I'm not predicting that, but I don't see why they can't. I don't see especially why they can't win the SEC, and stay tuned in for when we redo our playoff brackets, because foreshadowing, I might have them winning in Atlanta. But I wanted to ask you guys, at what point does A&M become a team in that top three, to that tier one in the country, with that tier one being Oregon, Miami, Ohio State? Those are the three teams right now. Is there a point where they can get to that? I think they have. Obviously they got Florida this week, Arkansas, at LSU. If they're 8-0 and go beat LSU in Death Valley, we got to have a conversation.
Was the question to win the best team in the SEC or to win the national championship?
National championship. Okay. When do you think it becomes a conversation that we can consider them a national championship contender?
You could technically say now, by rule, being top five. I just picked 5 teams I would pick to win the SEC over them today. When I looked at the thing, I picked 5 teams. Not saying, here's my thing, Jake. Dude, there's never going to be a conversation, I think, for the SEC until literally the very end of the season, as far as tier one up there with Ohio State, Miami, and Oregon, because they're all going to beat the hell out of each other. This is Big 12 on steroids, like much better teams from last year, and this year too, technically. But I think that like they're all just going to beat up on each other. There's going to be everybody's going to have multiple losses. Nobody's going unscathed in this conference here. And I just don't know if there'll ever be a time until it's actually go time to strap them up in December and January to say, oh, yeah, they're tier one. Unless they just improve drastically. Like, I don't see A&M like blowing out teams or convincingly winning week in and week out in this conference. I don't see any team in this conference doing that. So it's not like really a knock on A&M. I think it's just like the top of the conference has come down and the bottom of the conference has tiered up type of thing. Like everybody's a lot more mushed together in that median line. So that's my thoughts on it. Like I said, it's really not like a knock on Texas A&M. It's just a compliment to the conference and how competitive I think it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I understand you 100%. You got anything on that?
I think the time that you have the conversation is if they do end up going 8-0 and beating LSU in Death Valley. That's when I'll think about it seriously.
Yeah.
I won't think about it that serious if LSU has 2 or 3 losses at that time. Wait, when is that game?
Do what?
When is that game?
2 weeks.
Oh. So LSU has South Carolina this week, and then I don't know who they got next. Somebody wants to look that up. I need to give my score prediction for this game. So somebody look that up on giving my score prediction for this game. But I think there really is something about wounded animal mode, and especially with this Florida team, now that they've kind of clicked and they've put it together, at least we think. But we've seen the ceiling and we've seen the floor, right? And I don't have the nuts to come on here and say Florida's going to win. I truly don't think they're going to win, but I think they're going to cover 7.5. I do. I think – well, this line was, 8.5, 9.5 to start the week. I think Florida's going to cover 7.5. I know this is very atypical of me. I love to take a good lay the points with a 7.5 point spread. But I think this line's going to probably close at 6.5 regardless. So I like Florida to cover. Going on the road, it's difficult. I need to see them sustain the success they created last week for multiple weeks in a row and show me they can do it on the road as well. So with all that said, I like A&M to win the game 27-20 over Florida.
I like it.
Anybody figure out who LSU has in between South Carolina and A&M?
Oh, I did not. Sorry. I'm going to look that up real quick. You can move on to the next one.
Okay. Well, I'll move on to the next. Well, hang on. This is important because this is on topic of Texas A&M. So
at Vandy, toughest place to play in the country.
Yeah, I think they'll have 2 losses regardless. So moving on to the next game, Michigan, coast to coast, baby. But they're not really on the coast, but they're in the Midwest, but still at least 2 hours. I think it's 3. I think Michigan's EST. 3-hour time difference. Michigan traveling to USC. USC, another team not quite in wounded animal mode, but they suffered a bad loss, right? Last time, all eyes were on USC. Just a heartbreaking loss against Illinois on the road. We have seen it more with the West Coast teams, but we've seen it from the teams in the Midwest and in the East too. Like, these travel spots are not easy for these teams in these conference matchups. However, USC had a 9 a.m. local kick at Illinois. Michigan gets a 7:30 local kick or 7 o'clock local kick for Michigan standards, 4:30 local for Southern Cal. So I don't know how much of a factor it will play in them. I think in this game we're going to find out. Like, does Sharon Moore trust Bryce Underwood? All right, here's your keys to your Ferrari, because it's like you have the keys to the Ferrari and you haven't taken it out of neutral yet, right? You just been putting it in neutral and just kind of slowly going down to each stop sign, just getting it pushed down the road. Like, is he going to hand him the keys? Is he going to let him unleash with both his legs and his arm this week? Very intrigued to see. For USC, man, we all know what this is about for Lincoln Riley and Danton Lynn. It's about physicality. Like, does Michigan – here's the thing. Sharon Moore might think, bro, I don't have to take the car out of neutral this week. We're playing Southern Cal. We're just going to hand the ball off to Justice Haynes 50 times. He's going to rack up his 2 hundo and his 2 touchdowns. We'll win the game 14-3. We'll hold on to the ball for 35 minutes. Like, that might be his mindset. My question is, USC has a very efficient offense. They have Jacoby Lane, Makai Lemon, and I think Jaden Maiava is, since Kyler, heck, since Baker, I'm going to go since Baker, is the quarterback most recently in between, Baker, Kyler, Hurts, all them. He actually plays within the Lincoln Riley system. Like, those other guys, Lincoln was like, just go out there and make a play, Like, he's actually playing in the system. I think he's a very efficient quarterback. Only one turnover, thrown for over 1,000 yards, like hitting really good receivers that they have. I'm not questioning the offense. It's the defense that I'm concerned about. Guys, what are y'all's takes on this game?
Yeah, you brought up the point about physicality, and I think that's what this game comes down to. For me, in my eyes, is USC able to match the physicality of Michigan? Are they able to win in a defensive battle, a low-scoring game? Personally, I don't think so. I think Michigan wins this game in a low-scoring affair. I'm going to go 22-20 Michigan. I think they just continue to lean on that ground game. Underwood's able to use his legs. And I do want to point out that I do think this is a huge game. This is a huge weekend for these two teams in Indiana because, and you could even argue Illinois too. Top three, the top blood right now in the Big Ten is Ohio State and Oregon and Penn State, obviously. Penn State lost to UCLA last week and removed themselves from that top tier blood kings of the Big Ten. So now, like, really, there's 1 and 2 in the Big Ten. Now all eyes are on 3 and 4. The winner of this game is going to kind of evolve to that spot. And then you have Illinois, who's playing Ohio State at home, and you have Indiana going on the road to Oregon. Those 4 teams, like, it's such a big week for them because the 3 and 4 spot is so wide open in the Big Ten, in my eyes right now, at least. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out. But I do think Michigan wins here in a cross-country game. I'm not ready to say that Lincoln Riley is going to have a physical enough team to beat Michigan, even at home when they're traveling across the country.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. I think that Bryce Underwood's going to, shine in this game, but not to a point to where it's, holy shit, he's the next coming of quarterback Jesus. No. But I do think that he plays well. And I think he outplays Jaden Maiava. And simple and sweet, I think Michigan wins this game by 2 scores.
Yeah, Tyler, you just said you don't think he's going to be the coming of quarterback Jesus this game. You're right. It's not going to happen this game, but it's coming. Like, it's coming. This guy is going to be so dang good. I can't wait to watch him play for the next 2 years after this one, because everybody knows he's going to the league after 3, right? So, anyways, man, do you guys remember last week when Alabama, everybody was like, oh, Vandy, you can't overlook Vandy. Like, they beat you last year. And it kind of like it hung with them for 365 days. And even after the Georgia win, they knew, like, all right, we have to set our sights on Vandy. And it was like emotional for them, right? For different reasons, I think this game is emotional for USC and USC and Lincoln Riley against Michigan. If you guys remember last year, like, USC was winning this game for most of it. They were winning going into the fourth quarter. We were finally like, wow, they are showing improvements on the defensive side of the football. Like this might be like the win that catapults them into playing physical football and showing that they have a defense. And then with Alex Orji and Khalil Mullins and Donovan Edwards in a 2-minute drill, Michigan ran the ball, had runs of 55 yards, 45 yards, 65 yards, not all in that drive. Like, they just kept breaking off explosive runs. But in that drive, they did have 1 or 2 explosive runs. And I think they threw the ball 1 time, the entire 2-minute drill, scored on a 4th and goal right at the end of the game, and just ran it down their throats. There's nothing USC can do about it. I think USC knows that they cannot, like, emotionally, they got to have this one, right? And Jake, you brought up such a good point. Penn State has removed themselves from the equation. everybody's looking at 3 and 4, right? And some are even looking at 5 because it's like Michigan, USC, Illinois. I'm forgetting one here.
Indiana.
Nebraska, Indiana. Heck, I'm not giving up on our Huskies yet. They are 4-1.
In Maryland.
Maryland, I mean, they only have one loss. Now, that's going to even itself out, but mainly it is Michigan, USC, Illinois, Indiana, right?
Yep.
I hate to say it, I'm writing off Illinois. So it's really Michigan, USC, Indiana, and Nebraska. Those are the 4 teams I'm looking at, right? Nebraska doesn't have the schedule. Indiana has already got a big win. So it's like Big Ten's going to get 3 or 4 teams in. This game is so crucial, right? If Michigan wins this game, who's to say they're not a 1 or 2 loss team heading into play Ohio State for a chance at the playoff? If USC wins this game, they only got like one more real tough test on the remainder of their schedule, and it's Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, like, this is such a massive game, and I can't believe I'm going back to this well. I like Lincoln Riley more than I like Sherrone Moore as a coach. I think that USC knows they got to get it done. I think Oklahoma's explosive plays on offense through the air are going to make Lincoln Riley's game plan just that much better. I think that they know that they're going to have to win this game. I'm rolling with the Trojans in this one, man. I think this is a spot for them to get the win that kind of catapults them. I keep going back to the USC well every single week in these Big Ten matchups. Eventually one's going to hit, and I hope it's this one. So I'm going to take Southern Cal in this game.
I like the point you bring up, Hunter. It's kind of a coin flip. I mean, I like Michigan to win, but
it's such a coin flip game.
I also see the path you're bringing up for USC, 100%.
I didn't give a score prediction here. Let me just go to these team totals real fast. Give me USC 31, Michigan 28.
I like it.
And I'm not even going to introduce the game. Jake, you got it.
My Georgia Bulldogs headed to Auburn for a night game, primetime spot on ABC against the Auburn Tigers. Georgia coming off of a bounce-back win, if you will, against Kentucky. Looked better, took care of business on Saturday in Athens after the loss to Alabama. Auburn coming off of a bye week, backs against the wall, 0-2 to start SEC play, 3-2 on the year. Kind of a must-win spot for them, kind of a really needed spot for Hugh Freeze and his Auburn team. This is a big one. I'm going to let Tyler start. I don't know what else to intro this with. Hunter does better at this than I do. But very interesting matchup. And there's a non-ranked home dog. Is that the stat? Against a ranked opponent. So we're already off to a bad start. Crazy things. Jordan Hare's known for just magic happening in that stadium at night, especially. I think we're in for a treat on Saturday night in this one. Tyler, I'll let you start. What you think?
I completely agree with what you just said. Crazy things happen in Jordan Hare at night. We've always seen Auburn play Georgia tight, especially in our lifetime. I feel like it's always a one-score game pretty late. And I don't think that's going to change this week. Georgia's looked shaky to start the year. They pulled out the win against Tennessee. They couldn't get it done against Bama. Yeah, they look good against against the worst team in the SEC, Kentucky. So I think that Georgia is, obviously the better team on paper, and I think they're the better team on the field. However, just like you were saying, weird things happen against the Auburn Tigers, especially at night in Jordan Hare. And as a Georgia fan, that makes me a little bit nervous. I think Georgia wins a freaking dogfight here. You see what I did there? But I think it's going to be a close game. I've got the final score being something along the lines of 28-24 Georgia. Very tight game. A game that shouldn't be as tight as it is, but it will be sloppy for whatever reason because it's being played in Jordan Hare.
Stuff, huh?
Yeah. So it's ironic, right? I'm always the one that's like most hesitant or first, very easy to pick against Georgia in these spots, right? Like that's what I'm known for. I'm the only one on this podcast that's not scared to put the other team's logo on the picks page or just come on here and say it. So, at least historically. With that being said, here, yeah, Tyler, it's crazy because you think it's going to be a close game. I don't. I don't think this game's going to be. It might be close, but I don't think it's going to be as close as the spread indicates. Like, I was going to tell you right now, I got Georgia 31 to or 34 to 21. I got them winning by 13 points here. So what it comes down to for me in this game is, yes, there are crazy things that happen at Jordan-Hare at night. They're crazy things, right? Like all this stuff happens. Tyler, you said Auburn always plays Georgia close every year. That's only when it's on the road. So then this one's on the road. However, what I always come back to for these spots is like, man, Georgia's just not going to hand you a football game. It's just not what they do. They went on the road to Neyland Stadium with a young team and did not false start one time. Like, they're not going to hand you the game. And I think that plays true in this game. And what it comes down to for me, two things here. One, I think Gunner Stockton is going to have to run the ball more than maybe, like, as these weeks go on, I think he's going to have to run the ball more. Like, how much sustained success can the Georgia run game have? I know the running backs got it. I think this is going to be one of those games where they're going to, with the, what's the word I'm looking here? The sky, maybe not the skies, but to, gosh, I'm having a brain fart here, but to misconceptualize the Auburn defense. I can't believe that's the word I rolled with, but yes, that's what I'm to misconceptualize the Auburn defense. Like, I think Gunner Stockton's going to have to use his legs. This is why you go out and you improve your receiver room, right? Like, they're going to have to do a little bit more. But Georgia fans going to hate to hear this, but Bobo cooked last week, guys. He cooked last week against Kentucky, and that was the most kind leather meets bottom, otherwise known as BTA, I've ever seen in my life. Like, it wasn't just, explosive play after explosive play, and they like ran up the score, but like that game was never close. And I think Bobo's going to be in his bag again. You respect the run game so much, and then you hit a little reverse to Dylan Bell. So I think it's going to come down to the Georgia run game, how much success that they're going to have, and I think they will continue that sustained success, right? But ultimately, and I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on this, the question that this game comes down to is this. We've obviously seen a shaky start from the Auburn offensive line and their quarterback, Jackson Arnold, holding on to the ball too long. We've also seen a very shaky start from the Georgia defensive front. The pass rush hasn't been very good. So how do you look at that? Do you look at it in this specific game as, wow, Auburn's offensive line and Jackson Arnold holding on to the ball too long, like those two catastrophe things being so bad that Georgia's pass rush is going to be too talented and they're going to get home. They're going to get home, or they're going to, Kirby, he doesn't even really give a crap about getting home. He just cares about making the quarterback feel pressured and making bad decisions on the field and let this defense take care of the rest, or forcing incomplete passes. Or do you look at this game and go, wow, yeah, Auburn's offensive line hasn't looked good, and Jackson Arnold is holding on to the ball too long, but they did play really good defense in Oklahoma. They played a pretty solid defense at Texas A&M. Maybe they aren't that bad. They just played two really good defensive fronts, and Jackson Arnold's going to have time to throw, and they're going to force feed Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, and they're going to get the job done. Like, is it going to come down to Georgia defensive front being that bad they can't get home against Auburn and Jackson Arnold has time to throw, or Auburn's defense or offensive front is so bad that Georgia does get home and forces Jackson Arnold to continue to play poorly? That's what the game comes down to, because those two units are both very bad through 6 weeks of football this year. Which one's going to prevail? I'll take a Kirby Smart defense in this specific situation. I don't know if they'll actually get home and bring the quarterback down, but I think they will make him feel uncomfortable early. I don't think Auburn's offense has been very good as far as running the ball with the running back this year, and the offensive line being able to open up the holes for them. And so with that, I think Georgia's going to end up just pulling away in this game. They actually showed to me last week that they could start fast. They scored 2 touchdowns on their first 2 possessions. And man, I'm starting to like what I like. It's huge to see Georgia do that. I know they played Kentucky, right? But like usually in the game like that against Alabama, after they play Alabama, they still start sluggish and it's not as consistent or fluid. But they came right out, and I've been seeing parts and pieces get a little bit better week in and week out. So with all that said, I think the pass rush is going to make Arnold feel uncomfortable. I think it finally starts to come together a little bit. I am worried. If I was a Georgia fan, I'd be worried. Cam Coleman is a dog. If they force feed him and he is open, and Jackson Arnold does have time, this game can get ugly in the wrong direction real fast. So, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I really am starting to like what I'm seeing from the Georgia offense. I think the defense will continue to improve week in and week out. So I think Georgia wins by 2 scores, 34-21.
I like it, Hunt. 3 points factors that I want to kind of bring up here. First is Georgia and the slow starts. Last week, they proved they can come out fast. They got 2 stops defensively, 2 straight touchdowns. I think that's huge in this spot, in this environment, is coming out fast, either whether it's getting a stop after the first kickoff or going down and putting points on the board. I need to see a quick start out of this Georgia team on Saturday night. Second point, obviously, you talked about it, Jackson Arnold, and what does he look like? Does he take a step forward? Does it kind of click a little bit? We know that he can run the ball. We know that he can extend the play with his legs, but can he get the ball out quicker than he has? Can he put it in the right spot at the right time to let his playmakers make plays? So that's another interesting fact, and then another interesting point. And then the 2 matchups that I'm looking forward to is just in the trenches, both matchups. The Auburn defensive front against the Georgia offensive line, the Auburn defensive front, or the Georgia defensive front against the Auburn defensive line, or Auburn offensive line, whatever. Auburn front seven's elite. Georgia's offensive line has been, I would say, shaky, just questionable at times. We got a lot of guys banged up, a lot of guys being filled in at different spots. What does that look like on Saturday? Can Georgia hold their own? Can we sustain the run game for 4 quarters? And then for the flip side of it, Georgia's got to be able to get a pass rush, especially with Jackson Arnold. Like, he's had to, in big games so far, Baylor and Oklahoma, he's had to flush himself out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. But what is he? We haven't seen him in a position where he does have time to throw. Can he make throws in the pocket when he has time? I don't want to know. I would rather just get home to quarterback. Don't have to lean on our secondary as much because Auburn obviously has elite guys at wide receiver outside. So I think it's more of a must-win spot for Auburn. I just haven't seen it from an offensive point of view. I don't think they can go score for score with Georgia. I have Georgia winning this one 24-16.
What'd you say, 24-16?
Yeah.
So that's a cover. Okay. Gotcha. Well, good stuff, guys. And we still have 2 more. I know we usually just hit them with the quick 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 games. But if you're a ball knower, you appreciate these next 2 games on the slide, because the first one we have here is taking place in Denton, Texas on a Friday night. And if you actually know ball, you understand that this is a playoff elimination game sitting right here in front of us. The South Florida Bulls, everybody's darling. You know, they beat Florida. They beat Boise to start the year, one of the first games of the season. They're traveling on the road to the North Texas Mean Green, who are 5-0 and have a really good football team. And somebody on this podcast discovered them about 3-4 weeks ago and identified them as a quote-unquote wagon, if I remember the text message correctly. So, Jake, it's only fair. I know you just stopped talking, but, like, it's only fair that you kick this one off.
Yeah, North Texas, the Mean Green, they are a very special team. They have shown us that they can win games in a variety of ways, whether it's a close battle, they can just blow teams out of the water. I mean, they were beating Army for 3.5 quarters a few weeks ago, like dominating, and Army woke up fought back, tied it up, went to overtime, had a chance to win, but North Texas held their own and won. North Texas true freshman quarterback Luke Mestemaker, over 1,200 yards passing, 11 or 12, 13 touchdowns so far, has yet to throw an interception. He is an absolute baller, very fun to watch. This is a very exciting matchup. Daniel Dallas Cowboy Daniel is actually going to be in attendance for this one. He called me the other day. And one of his friends who goes to school, he sent us like screenshot of the text, said that like the feeling around the game is that no matter what, like if they win, they're rushing the field, and they know that they've already gotten like emails about how it's going to be a fine for them. It's like $100,000 or something. So we are on field storming watch here. I think North Texas is special, and I think they get the job done at home.
I just got to comment on that. I'm sorry. You know, whatever happened to America when field storming was cool and nobody got fined for it? It's still cool, but people are getting fined hundreds of thousands of dollars. Man, screw these conferences, and screw these schools, bro. Us, like, I just graduated college. Jake, you're finishing up college. Tyler, you just graduated college. There are a lot of people who spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to these schools, and we have to pay for athletic fees, and they go to the conferences and go to the universities. And there's some students who have to take out thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt to pay to your stupid university, and then they have interest on top of them. And we can't even storm the field at a football game, man. Like, that's a bunch of load of crap. That's a bunch of communism. And I'm sorry. I'm not here for it. You storm the field whenever you get a big win at home. That is college football, and that is America. Just had to be said.
That part.
Yeah, shout out Division III football at its finest. Everybody comes down to the field after the game.
Like it's high school.
Yeah, I had a lot of storming the field experiences with the fans at Center College. So a shout out to the Colonel Faithful. Touching up on this game, I think North Texas is a very good football team. Obviously, South Florida had the two big wins to start off the year. But I think North Texas has, again, I've talked about momentum more than once this past few weeks. I think North Texas has more momentum coming into this one. They're 5-0. They're hosting this game. It's a night game. They're going to be ready to go. I've got them squeaking by and winning this one and knocking South Florida out of the playoffs. North Texas might be that sneaky little team to make it into the bracket at the end of the year.
Absolutely. And Jake, I know you brought up Drew Mestemaker, and he is like one of 5 QBs this year to throw for over 1,000 yards, over 10 touchdowns, and 0 picks. That is astonishing. I don't care where you're playing at. And I'm pretty sure he's a true freshman.
Yeah, he is. He's
a true freshman. And I'm pretty sure before this season, he had never played quarterback before.
It's crazy. I did not know that.
Or that might have been the backup they brought in later, but I did see somewhere that like one of the North Texas quarterbacks they've played this year, like coming out of high school, was a DB, and they had to figure out a quarterback situation, and I'm pretty sure it was Drew Mestemaker. Besides the point, the guy's a dog. Everybody gets attention to the quarterback. I'm going to give attention to a sick name, legendary name on here. Somebody I would probably name in NCAA football 26. How about Mackenzie McGill II? Guy has 318 rushing yards. He's a dog. I appreciate that. So, but Byron Brown, he's a dog. That guy's legit. I think he could be playing tight end in the NFL on Sundays. He's so good, and he's big. He's fast. Everything else. I just think South Florida's everybody's darling. Not enough people know about North Texas. I'm taking the Mean Green to win this game.
Is this a podcast 129 play of the week spot on a Friday night?
On Friday night. I guess we have one on a Friday night and technically a Sunday morning if we're going by the clock, but we'll get to that later. Give me the Mean Green in this game to win the game outright, 35-31.
Good stuff. Love it.
And last but not least,
I would like if they win this, I might be ordering merch. That'd be sick to have North Texas merch, a little green. I don't have any green in my wardrobe. That would be awesome.
You literally have a green shirt on right now. Moving on that note, to a massive Big 12 game, right? Everybody has established, me included, everybody on this podcast included, I should say, Texas Tech. They're the team to beat. Nobody's going to stop them. They will be playing in Dallas for the Big 12 championship game, right? Who's going to face them? everybody's talking about ASU, TCU, Utah. Am I missing somebody? Baylor, maybe, depending on the week. So big game as the Arizona State Sun Devils are traveling to Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Utes. I like to bring this up. Everybody might oh yeah, no shit. But last time that everybody's eyes were on Utah, that's important because not everybody's watched the games since the Texas Tech game. But the last time that everybody actually watched Utah, all eyes on them, they pissed down their leg and got beat by Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech's a good football team. Does not mean Utah's not a good football team. Does not mean that at all. And I still think Utah is a good team. I still think they got a good home field advantage. I don't care what the record says over the past 2 seasons. I still think they have a really good home field advantage. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City. 5.5-point favorite? Oh, that's so telling. This is going to be leather meets bottom. Don't get me wrong. I like Kenny Dillingham. I like Sam Levitt. I still think Utah's got the coaching edge. And Whittingham, I think this is a Dampier get-right spot. I think this is just a Utah get-right spot on the national stage. They'll be ranked again next week. Give me the Utes over the Sun Devils.
I'm right there with you. Same wavelength with you, Hunter. I think that Utah, don't think they lose 2 straight at home. And this is one of those spots I was talking to you about at pre-show. It reminds me a lot of when Indiana was favored by 7.5 at home against Illinois a few weeks ago. And I was like, there's no way that line makes no sense. Why? In my eyes, at least. And I got burned on it. And I feel the same way here. I feel like Utah, after the Texas Tech game, that I thought that the books, I guess, would adjust to that. And they did not show much offensively. But I think they figure it out here. Like you said, they roll and cover against Arizona State on Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement with that. I don't think that Utah loses 2 big games at home in the same season. I think that they are able to get it done. Arizona State, we've seen it, that they're not as good as they were supposed to be. So I've got Utah winning a close one, but I do think they get it done. I'm not going to give a score prediction, but I think they get it done at home.
Good stuff, fellas. Well, that wraps up our – oh, go ahead, Jake.
I was saying, all right.
Do what?
I was just saying, all right.
All right, yeah. What was that? 3, 7, 8, 9 games later, finally all wrapped up here. But we're still going to go over our best bets, and I'll make mine quick. So, Michigan State. Hunter, who does Michigan State play, and why the hell are they favored by over a touchdown against somebody? It's funny you asked that. They played Nico Iamaleava, Jerry Neuheisel, and the UCLA Bruins. UCLA traveling to Michigan State. This is just the biggest letdown spot of all time, right? Everybody's darling UCLA. This line opened up at 9.5. It's already been bet down to 7.5. Oh, yeah. Jonathan Smith, Aiden Childs. I'll take the Spartans in this spot. It's such a sell high spot for me, right? And Michigan State, I think they win by more than a touchdown over UCLA. Oregon, talked about it earlier. Not going to go too much in depth to it. Reminds me a lot of the Alabama-Vandy game. A little bit of a shorter number here at 7.5. I do like the Ducks to win by a little bit more than a touchdown over the Hoosiers. Next game up, sick logo for Western Kentucky, the Big Red Hilltoppers. But technically, this game, I do have to say, it's not on Saturday. This game is actually next Tuesday. But we're not going to have a podcast referring to this kind of stuff next week. So, this counts. I'm going to count it. You know why? Because I don't even have money on shit. I'm just giving you my best picks against the spread here. Give me the Hilltoppers over FIU minus 7.5 after a big momentum win against Delaware last Friday night. Next up, this is the Sunday morning podcast 129 squad ride bet of the week. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. They're playing at midnight. They're back on the island. They're welcoming in Bronco Mendenhall and the Utah State Aggies. Rainbow Warriors are getting it done on the island. I don't need to go too much in the depth of that. And last but not least, Arkansas plays Tennessee this week. The total is almost 70 points. That tells me to take the over. Points. Yeah, give me Joey Aguilar to go for – they might cover the damn over by themselves in this game, okay? Like, Arkansas's defense is so bad. On top of that, Bobby Petrino's first game as the head coach for Arkansas, you think he's not going to try and go out there and score as many points as he possibly can and try and get that job locked down for next year? Over 68.5 in Knoxville this weekend. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Good stuff, Hunt. Sweet, short, and sweet here. Very simple. All right. North Texas, getting it done on Friday night. Playoff implications on the line. The Mean Green. Damn it, Hunter. Just ruining my moment. Oh, my gosh.
Finish out your first two, and then I have an
Oh,
idea.
you're I'm just messing with you. Go ahead.
No, seriously, finish out your first two, and then I have an idea for you.
North Texas wins. What? Wait, what? You want me to?
First two.
Go over your first two picks.
Okay,
and then
okay.
and then I will chime in. I have an idea for you.
North Texas wins on Friday night. Texas, money line. They take down Oklahoma in the Red River shootout, regardless if Mateer plays or not.
You know what I just read right there, Jake?
What?
The Texas two-step parlay for the weekend. That's the Texas two-step parlay.
Well, if you let me finish, we could get a three-way going.
Texas try.
Yeah, but no, I'm not entertaining the three. No, and the two steps dance. Like, don't ruin the moment here, Jake. Plus, TCU, that's a straight loser pick, bro. Kansas State is winning the game outright.
Texas. All right, so we got North. See, Hunter's got me off my game. North Texas, Mean Green wins on Friday night or covers the 1.5 at home against South Florida. Texas Longhorns get it done. Things get clicking and go the right way on Saturday. Hawaii, the podcast 129 play of the week. TCU, my darling. I hate this play more than anything. I hate it because Kansas State, keep an eye out for Kansas State. They're not going to win the Big 12 or anything, but they're starting to figure things out, and I think they play spoiler the rest of the way out in the Big 12. They are 1.5 point. TCU's 1.5 point favorites at Kansas State. But they're my darling. They have not failed me. They are perfect in my eyes. Josh Hoover and the boys get it done on Saturday. And then Utah. I hate this play also because my heart wants to take Arizona State. I like Arizona State, but that line tells me to take Utah. So I'm riding with the Utes in that one.
All right. So I was gonna put Hawaii in my lockbox until I saw that the other two had already done so. So I didn't. So Hawaii is actually all three of our radars. But I just didn't put it in there because I wanted a little bit of variety. So first, I've got Tulane covering their spread against Eastern Carolina. East Carolina's good. I just think Tulane will be able to get it done against them. Houston is playing Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State sucks. Houston's a pretty good football team this year. I've got them covering that 14.5 point spread. Southern California. I think I took Michigan earlier, so I think I messed up here. But I, for some reason, have USC to cover or to win the game outright. That's going to change before this gets posted. So stay tuned for that. Texas Tech is not playing Kansas State. What did I write down here, man?
Texas Tech plays Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas. That's right. I mistyped on my notes. I've got Texas Tech winning that game very handedly. And covering the 14.5 point spread. And the Virginia Tech, I think that they are able to keep it close against Georgia Tech and keep that spread where it is and cover.
Yeah, there you go, Tyler. Finally got it all together here. Yeah, we had a mid-show flip from USC. It went from a best play of the week to Michigan on the money line. So
so switch that to the Hawaii money line, and there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're just all riding Hawaii here. Of course, rainbows on the island, baby. Show me the pot of the gold at the end. Moving on, triple option parlay plus 350 odds. I'll hit all three of them real quick. Tulane on the money line. Tyler just hit on it. They play ECU. They're at home. Pretty sure it's a Friday night game. Green Wave. They're going to roll in the American Conference against these teams that are a little bit tiers below them. Next up, Jake. He picked Jackson Arnold to score a touchdown on Saturday. They're playing Georgia. From what I talked to him about before the show started he said, I know Georgia's weaknesses like no other. Jackson Arnold. The only way they're going to be able to run one in is with him. So he's taken the quarterback for the Auburn Tigers to score on Saturday. And finally, I have no idea who UNLV plays, but Tyler likes them on the money line so much. Tyler, who do they play?
I think you're setting me up here because we already talked about this. They play Air Force.
They do play Air Force. Oh, yeah. No, I actually wasn't setting you up here. I just totally forgot. So I did make a hint at the beginning of the show. We're not communist around here except for Tyler, and this is why. You either bet on the troops or you just don't bet the game at all. And Tyler just straight up bet against the troops. He's taken the UNLV on the money line against Air Force, and I will not be having that in a parlay. I'm sorry. I refuse to bet against our military.
Look, man, you got to find a way to make money in this post-Joe Biden America, all right? Joe Biden screwed us up, so I got to find a way to put some change.
Wow, we really just jumped into politics onto the podcast about college football. Moving on, Saturday Shockers. I am rolling with the Oregon State Beavers. Not a juicy line here, only plus 125. But Wake Forest is traveling coast to coast from North Carolina to Oregon here. Oregon State has not won a football game all year. They've looked abysmal. Whereas Wake Forest, last time we all seen them play, they kept it close against Virginia Tech last week. Heck, they might have even won. I don't pay attention to those two irrelevant teams. Guess I'm not a real ball knower. Regardless, they came really close against Georgia Tech 2 weeks ago. They look like they're on the up until they have to travel. 3-hour time difference, man. I'm going to take Malik Murphy and Oregon State to somehow squeak out their first and maybe only win of the season. Jake, I'll let you talk. I'll let you guys talk about your picks because I don't know the explanation behind them. So go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Simpson.
this one I kind of hate because LSU needs to win on Saturday, but I kind of love it at the same time because this game's not being talked about at all. We didn't talk about it. It's not even a top 5 game on Saturday. South Carolina's been nowhere near expectations. LSU's been nowhere near expectations. A game that there might not be a lot of eyes on. And you look at your ESPN app, and it's like, oh, it's the fourth quarter, and South Carolina's up a field goal in Death Valley. I think if they could figure it out all on Saturday, either team. But I think 9.5 is a lot. I think South Carolina covers. And I think they have an opportunity to shock the world on Saturday night.
I went with Troy to beat Texas State. I don't really have much of an explanation other than I'm just feeling Troy this week. Little Sun Belt matchup. Give me the Trojans over the Bobcats.
Yeah, shit, Vic. You don't know ball in the Sun Belt. I'm just kidding. I just sorry, had to. It was sitting there in front of me. Also, sprinkle a little bit on that Georgia Southern Eagles money line. They play on Thursday night against Southern Miss. I'm just kidding. So, Southern Miss, my darlings. I can't bet against them. And that concludes our show, finishing out with none other than the Sun Belt Conference. What a show it was. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. We're all tired. It's 11 o'clock Eastern local time here. And some of us got to get up and go to work tomorrow morning. So some of us got class. So as always, guys, we appreciate you. If you have stayed all the way to the end, you're an absolute warrior. We appreciate you and your kindness and your willingness to listen to us for that long. 3 knuckleheads who get distracted very easily, but we love doing this. Appreciate you guys as always. And do not forget that there are things in life bigger than football, and God first and God bless.
Tyler? Good stuff. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe, comment on the video, like the video. We appreciate it. Next time we talk to you, we'll be recapping this loaded slate. We appreciate you guys. That's Podcast 129.